The fight was kind of the volcano erupting. We both decided that we wanted to work on our relationship.
Okay, usually I don't do these Big Ed videos back to back, but I had to find the follow-up to this insane fight. I just said in the last video, I bet I'm gonna watch this next video of 90 Day Fiance, and Big Ed and Liz are gonna be back together for the 1,000th time. Now, I said that halfway joking because obviously I know this is a show, they're gonna keep it going, but dude, they did it. They actually freaking did it, and I'm gonna have a meltdown this episode. But anyways, it's time to sit back and watch these two scrape together the sad remnants of their relationship for the 1,000th time as we all kick back and watch the train wreck happen. I don't know about you guys, but watching this show makes me feel so good about my life and just my relationships. I am so glad I am not stuck in this toxic loop that these two are in. Without any further ado, let's get into it, shall we?
For Liz and I, the fight after the engagement party was perhaps our biggest fight ever. Going to bed that night was like, okay, I think this is like it.
And that's where we left off last time, was them both saying in separate rooms, I am done. I don't care about this relationship. I don't care about the ring. I am sick of being in a relationship with this freaking loser. And now it's not even 24 hours later, and you're not gonna believe what you're about to see. That's right, that is Liz on the back of Big Ed's Vespa. And they are going out for another day together because they are back together trying to make this work for some reason after she threw away a $13,000 ring and he accused her of, I don't know, cheating like for the 100th time simply because she has friends that care about her.
I think we were in a broken relationship. Like we've been slowly building, you know, frustration on both ends.
And the way that Ed just said that is very strange to me. He says we were in a broken relationship. Buddy, this is the next morning. You still are actively in that broken relationship. The only way you can say this in past tense is when you two break up. That's when you officially will have been in a toxic relationship in the past. But no, this is the current time. You're still trying for it, and this will never not be toxic, okay? So you can have high hopes and think that this is all in the past, but there is no amount of therapy, time, or money that can make these two be compatible. They simply should not be in a relationship.
I do love Ed. I'm not always gonna say I'm madly in love with him, but I choose to wake up and appreciate our memories.
And Liz has a hilariously stupid take at this point. She says, you know what? I love Ed and I choose him. It's us versus the world, which is the truth because the entire world, including their closest friends and family and all of us watching along, do not want them to keep trying. And even in her words, she's speaking in past tense, saying, we have all these memories that I go off of. It's like, why would you stick with being with somebody who's toxic and manipulative to you just because you have a few good memories together? You know what I'm saying? Like, I have good memories of waking up in the middle of the night and the Cosby Show was on, but you don't hear me raving about the Cosby Show for obvious freaking reasons at this point, dude. Like, certain memories you can leave behind or just understand that they were a part of your past life that you don't have to bring into the future.
Oh, and truly believe Ed is worthy. And I am willing to do everything I can to prove to him that we can make this work.
Man, I really should not be going off of looks, but these two look so freaking goofy in public. I cannot get over it, all right? Like, I wonder how many people think Liz is just this guy's caretaker that is getting extremely close and making it really weird. Nobody sees them and thinks, yep, those two were dating if they have never heard of this show before and didn't know who these two were. But yeah, it's time for them to sit down in the park and hash it out and talk about what happened last night, as obviously things were very explosive and we need to hear Ed make up a few new lies to tell to Liz so that he can brainwash her into continuing with this relationship.
Let me say this, even before we get into the engagement party, I'm sorry. All that stuff about you wanting to be a lesbian, that was just my insecurities.
And like freaking clockwork, I want you guys to go back and watch some of those really old Ed videos. I said this same thing about Ed. I noticed this pattern with him right away. He acts so foolish, and he acts like he doesn't realize when he is doing something wrong in the moment. But when he reflects like this, and he's able to, the next day, not even after a couple weeks of reflection, literally less than 24 hours, explain in perfect detail what was wrong of him to be doing and how he knows it's wrong, that shows that in the moment, he absolutely is doing that with malicious intent, and he knows that he's manipulating this woman. He knows she never cheated on him at their engagement party. He just wants to exert control over her and continue manipulating her until their days are done. So I don't buy this apology, nor have I bought any apology of his in the entire history of seeing him talk.
I mean, you're young, you're hot. I saw her and I didn't like it. And it made me mad at her, and I took it out on you.
And if he, of course, deflects and says, you know what, it's the friend's fault, I think we can both just agree that she shouldn't be in your life. So I think if you can agree with me on that, we can get back together and be back to having a happy marriage, or, you know, pre-marriage, where you don't have any social life or friends and you pretty much are subservient to me and live with me 24/7. I don't want you out of my sight. Are you good with that? Sweet, let's go. Like, that's Ed's version of conflict resolution. Imagine spending your entire life with this guy. I just could not physically fathom it.
I didn't have the best last relationship, and I was accused so much, and it turned out to be him. I was constantly cheated on.
Wow, and now we have a even darker, sadder twist to this story. These allegations that Ed is giving to Liz really dig deep for her, because in her past relationship, oh my God, this is so messed up. I just hear so many relationship stories and I'm confused because I feel like I've cheated the system and have a near flawless one where I don't have to worry about trust with my significant other. We're good. That's never been an element of our relationship. But for her, with her last boyfriend, he was pretty much accusing her of cheating 24/7, much like Ed is doing right here. And spoiler alert, the guy was just projecting, much like Ed was, and simply was cheating on her instead, multiple times. So that has to definitely mess up your mentality when it comes to relationships and just your insecurities, and amplifies all of them. So seeing that she's gone through that previous hurt and now Ed is hurting her in the same way is just incredibly sad.
It's a trigger, like when I say no or please believe me.
And I don't trust you.
You don't trust me. It brings that trauma back up.
And that's a common theme I think we see in this, is Ed is very smart and he's able to find those pieces of Liz that are full of insecurity, and that's what he targets. That's what he really tries to attack when it comes to their fights or just their day-to-day life. He is keeping her in that mentality of, oh, I'm a loser, I'm not worthy of true love, I'm fat, I need to go to the gym, all this various stuff. He really implants that into her brain so that she feels lesser than him, which is not the case.
I want to marry you, but I don't want to be a divorcee again, and you don't either.
No.
And when it feels right, we'll know. I think we'll know.
So I guess the plan moving forward is they're still engaged, but they're kind of taking away the due date, so to say, of their marriage. They're not going to rush into anything any faster than they already have. They're hitting the brakes a little bit, which is a good sign. But like I said, this is like trying to, you know, still imagine that you could have a fast car and you're driving some old crappy beat up Honda. Just because the transmission isn't squeaking as much as it used to doesn't mean that you all of a sudden have a race car or even the ability to make this thing ridiculously fast. You know what I'm saying? Just give up at this point, please. So they have a pleasant rest of their conversation in this garden. There's this funny moment right here.
Are those wedding bells? One day.
Ed's inner Edness came out there and he's like, are those wedding bells? We'll have that soon. Oh wait, just kidding. I forgot. I'm lying to you and telling you that I'm in no rush again so that you feel comfortable. And then I'm going to start pressuring you about the wedding and everything and, you know, getting your life in order, even though I don't have mine in order. You know how it goes. But yeah, I'm just kidding. Those aren't our wedding bells, of course. Like, funny joke, Ed. Anyways, now it's time to see the other part of this episode where they actually get some couples therapy, much needed, might I add. And let's see how that goes.
She got up at 5:15 this morning.
Wow.
And went and worked out for an hour and a half while I slept in.
Okay, so a big pillar of them getting back together and continuing to fight on this relationship is that they're both gonna work on each other. And Ed, the first sentence he says in therapy is like, wow, I'm so proud of Liz. She got her fat ass up out of bed at 5 a.m. and actually went out to work out for the first time, which is incredible because I know you don't see us day to day, but that's just this girl over here. All she does is eat, and never works out. I'm worried about her physique. She is getting really chunky, but I'm glad she finally took some initiative and, you know, went to work out while I slept in. Like, this guy needs to look in a mirror. I think he has some weird technology in his mirrors. You know when you see those weird circus mirrors where they make you look fat and stubby? I think he has one that's inverse, that's making this man think that he's 6 foot tall and just looks like Adonis. And that could not be further from the truth, man. I've said this once, I've said it many times, you are a human bowling ball.
So then he gave me space. So that's
You're
been
learning to give her space.
Yeah.
Right? We're recognizing what are our partner's triggers.
This therapist is wrong. Ed isn't learning crap. All right. He can be performative, and while they're doing these little therapy sessions, I'm sure he will be making strides, but I guarantee you, as soon as they stop this therapy, he's gonna go back to his old ways. Nobody reaches this age and isn't stuck in their ways. I'm sorry to say, but you cannot change a man who is nearing his 60s, who has acted this way his entire life and sees nothing wrong with it. There will be no change to come of that. All right? There's just none.
Like, I don't ever want to be back in a position where sleeping in my car, and so I don't want to go through that again.
So here we get to another very sad point where you realize one of the main things that Ed brings up in their fights, which is their living situation, throwback to last episode when they had that massive fight after the engagement party, he instantly said, you know what, I give up, let's not get married, move out tomorrow. I'm sure you have another place lined up or whatever, but, move out. Anyways, now let's hear why that type of stuff obviously is damaging in the first place, but why it's more damaging specifically for Liz and her life experience. She'll say it herself here.
So security for you represents
that I can support myself without anybody else's help.
So Liz literally breaks down and talks about how in her past relationship, once they broke up, it was pretty much the end of the road for her. And she had to give up having her daughter with her for a while as she was homeless in her car and her life pretty much fell apart. And that was around the time that Ed was meeting her and ruining her life further by trying to get her to go on these dates. So that really adds another layer of just terribleness. Much like we just saw in the whole cheating angle, it's the same thing with the housing angle. Ed has found these insecurities about her and attacks those when they fight because he is a vile, manipulative monster. And he threatens her being homeless again, which is the most terrifying thing that many of us who have homes or have a place to live think about all the time. We are 1 or 2 paychecks away from that situation ourselves, and he is using that to target her emotions and make sure she stays under his control.
The fact that you lived in your car just breaks my heart.
And I don't really buy these tears from Ed. There's no way you didn't know that's a chapter of her life, or she hasn't talked about that in their relationship so far. I think even the way Liz is looking at him right now is saying that same thing. He's acting in front of this therapist like this is some big bombshell that he never knew about, and as a result, he's gonna treat her differently. But I guarantee you he knew already that she had this past, and that is why he specifically targets the whole housing thing every time they fight. It's like a bully in school that finds your one major insecurity, and that's just what they get at you with. It's like once you give somebody like Ed the ammunition, he is going to use it against you.
To be going back to work. Lately, I haven't tried to pick up any shifts because there's a conflict.
So may I make a request?
that's not what we're doing in this part.
And Liz is talking about what's important to her, and that is picking up more shifts and getting her life back so she can feel like she can support herself if something does happen to the relationship. And Ed instantly is like, well, can I make a demand? He says request, but we all know it would have been a demand where if she didn't meet it, he would break up with her or do some other stupid, silly thing. I'm glad the therapist shuts him down, but basically Ed is saying, it's okay, you can go back to working at the restaurant, but I don't want you to hang out with nobody from the restaurant, none of that. I don't want you to have any social life still. That is his entire plan, is that she can go and make money, but she cannot make something of herself and have friends outside of him because one of them might take her away. Boo-hoo. Imagine having that mindset and that possessive nature to yourself being this man's age. I really couldn't imagine.
Do you think sometimes that you put pressure on Liz to give you love unconditionally when she's asking to want to work? Does it feel like a condition of your relationship?
And this therapist is having to talk to Ed like he's a 5-year-old, explaining what conditional love is. He thinks it's unconditional love, but when you have all these terms and things she has to abide by, that is the definition of conditional love. And he absolutely treats her differently if she says no to one of his demands, as if she was his child or something. Their relationship dynamic is just so messed up, dude. But yeah, basically this therapy session goes on for a little bit longer. Ed continues to not have any ability to have any introspection on how he's acting himself in the scenario. Most of it is because of Liz, and we're just seeing the cycle continue. Kind of a weird episode where I'm just confused at why they're still continuing to try this, but we're gonna keep trucking along this season because it is painful cringe that I can't get enough of, and I must see how this ends. If they get married, I don't know what I'll do. It's ridiculous to think that she wants to spend the rest of her life with this guy. Shout out to all you who are watching to the very end. Shout out to my patrons for supporting me. Let me know what you thought of this episode down in the comments below. Next time around, I'm gonna have to get my editing chops up because we might see a little bit more of Ed than we ever wanted as he gets a ridiculous spa day with Liz in their house. Yeah, stay tuned for that one. We're gonna have some other stuff on the way this week instead before that though, so make sure you check those out. As always, I'll catch you guys in the next video, and until next time, peace out.